afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Ham Radio Basics Live, Season 4, Episode 34, Ham Radio News and Updates, 8/26/2026. Hope everybody's doing well. Cooley here. Welcome back. Good to see you. Andy, good to see you as well, my friend. Hope everybody is doing well. I know Huntsville Ham Fest was last weekend, and by all accounts, it looked like it was a lot of fun. And a lot of great pictures, some great videos as well, too. So, get out to YouTube and check them out. I did watch a little bit of the YouTube forum as well, too. That was great. And the room was pretty packed. Hey, Gator Drone, welcome. Good to see you this afternoon, my friend. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, we're going to we will get out there. I'm itching to get out there. And a lot of people say it's one of their favorites to go to. I mean, people like to go to Dayton and also Orlando, but just the friendliness of the people there and the forums that are there and everything they do, it's all in one area. It's really easy to access. And, they have there's a state park that's nearby where a lot of them camp out at, and they had a nice cookout there, I believe, as well, too. And some activities going on at Gigaparts as well, and just a lot of good stuff. It was just sounded like a lot of fun. So, just to let you know, the Tokyo Ham Fair is in 3 days, and our good friend Ray Novak from ICOM is going to be there. He put out a nice he did a little AI chat GPT thing, and ICOM's coming out announcing a new radio during the Tokyo Ham Fest. So we'll see what transpires out of all that. I'm sure it's going to be good. But my only thing with that is, yeah. So we'll see. Who knows? And I'm hearing rumors about the new Zygu that's coming out, about it being just a tad under $1,000. But again, who knows about that? So we'll see. And of course, anything else comes out on that, we'll get you guys info on that as well too. So we're going to jump into things today. Today, what I thought I'd like to do is go through the top 10 POTA antennas. And I'm not talking about specific, well, one's a specific brand, but most of them are just, infit, half wave, dipole, that kind of thing. I engage ChatGPT when I do these top 10 lists, and I collaborate with it, and I feed it some input in it, and it comes out with some things. And I really like this list. I thought it's very appropriate. I thought it's well done. So let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Okay, top 10 POTA antennas, performance, portability, setup time. All right, and you can see right here, infit half wave, best overall, 40 to 10 meters. One elevated support makes deployment simple, works as a sloper, inverted L or inverted V, lightweight, efficient, and easy to pack. Often operates without a tuner on designated bands. POTA thought the strongest all-around choice for most POTA operators, and it really is true, because with an infit half wave, you're not really you can have a smaller bag if you have a good go bag, and one that you could collapse, say, a nice pole in there as well too, that would collapse down and fit inside that bag. It makes things a whole lot easier to be able to do something like that. And you have many options with that, like the sloper, the inverted L, or the inverted V. And the nice thing about that is, it really is resonant. It really kind of rings true. So you really kind of don't need a tuner with that. Again, that's like 40 to 10 meters. But you get some strong signals with that. And I think people are really pleased with that when they go on to do POTA deployments. So, this is number one. It's the infit halfway. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one here. Now, the second one is a resonant link dipole, and best efficiency, commonly 40 to 10 meters. Full-size resonant wire delivers excellent efficiency. Small links select the operating band, and you guys know how dipole works. Predictable SWR without an antenna tuner, and deploys a dipole or an inverted V. Excuse me. Excellent when signal strength matters more than rapid band changes. And, and that's the thing with this, okay? It takes a minute to go ahead, and if you're changing bands, and you have to be real careful here that you're wanting to get the right band on here, because it does involve selecting those right lengths. So you got to kind of play with things here, and you got to be careful when you're doing this. But it's very efficient and it's very strong, and you get a really good signal from this as well too. So again, this makes this top 10 list here. It's really a truly an efficient type of antenna. Now, it's not as portable as, say, like the NFET halfway, but still, it's something that you could have easily in the back of your car or truck, and easy to transport and to set up. So now we'll go to number 3 here, the telescoping vertical, fast and free, coverage 20 to 6 meters. A 17-foot whip is a full quarter wave on 20 meters. Shorten the whip for higher frequency bands. Good low-angle radiation for longer contacts. Requires radials and a secure ground mount. And POTA thought, ideal beside a vehicle or picnic table when no trees are available. And that's a really good point for this telescoping vertical. Is its hallmark is, sometimes you go to parks, and believe it or not, they have very few trees that can be able to use for excuse me. They have very few trees that you could be able to use for something like an NFET halfway. So that's why a telescoping vertical will come in handy. And this is where you go out and you shop wisely, and to get that 17-foot whip, and also to a secure ground mount for that as well too. Whether you're going to mount it on a tripod or so forth, but the other thing is, you really do need radials with this as well too, and you got to be real careful with that. And I know a lot of the big places like Gigaparts and DX Engineering and Ham Radio Outlet, they'll sell really good radials that will be the right length for you for this. So go out there and shop them when you're doing this, and when you're putting a package together. Have many, and one of the things I kind of want to stop here for a second. And when you're going out to do POTA, you probably want to have a couple of options in your vehicle with you, because an NFET halfway may not work that day. You may want to have a dipole with you. You may want to do that instead, or you may want to do a telescoping vertical, or some of the other ones that we're going to talk about, because it's important to be flexible. So the weather, the conditions, everything. So keep that in mind when you're doing something like this. So it's always good to have more than one option when you're going to do POTA. So you don't drive. Sometimes you may drive 45 minutes to an hour to get there. You don't want to come away empty-handed, so to speak. So so keep that open as well. But it works well. But the big thing with this is. And when you secure radials, and this is one thing I think a lot of new hams fall into this trap. They just think that you can just, take the radial out and plop it down on the ground. And what you want to do is you want to get probably, they sell those plastic spikes. They're just as good. Is to kind of get them taut when you do that. Radials work a whole lot better when they do that, and you put it out in a pattern as well too. I call it, somebody told me years ago, they called it like a starburst pattern kind of a thing. So that would be what I would recommend for something like that, for a telescoping vertical. Okay, loaded coil vertical, compact multi-band, 40 to 10 meters, adjustable coil and whip, cover several HF bands, self-supporting and easy to position. Radials are essential for good performance. Retune the coil whenever changing bands. And coils are great, and one of the things that you probably POTA thought, a practical balance of size, coverage, and tree-free operation. And again, that's a wonderful part about a loaded coil with that. What a lot of guys do is they'll take different color magic markers and mark 40 meters, 10 meters, so forth on there, so they know, and usually in different colors, so they can kind of color code things, and they know where things are, and they don't have to hunt and peck and take several shots at trying to find what band you're on. You're there right away, and it works, and that's a good thing. But understand that you have to adjust that coil when you're switching bands for something like that as well too. And it really does. It's really the nice thing about that is Again, it's tree-free operation, and I know a lot of people, a lot of times when they go out to do POTA, trees may not be available there. So that's a really good option to explore when you're going to a park, because there's a lot of times you can be going to a park you've never been to before. You may see like a layout or things, and you think there are trees there. Well, sometimes there aren't trees. So this is why, like I said, be prepared in your vehicle. Have more than one antenna option for wherever you're going to do POTA, so you don't come home empty-handed, so to speak. Number 5, Chameleon MPAS 2.0. I am so super biased about this antenna. It's not funny. Configure as a vertical, sloper, or wire antenna. Rugged components suit difficult field operations. Multiple mounting options support varied activations. More expensive and heavier than a basic wire. And these are all true. Every single one of these points are true right here. Covers 80 to 6 meters with a tuner. One of the things that you do need to remember is when you're doing a vertical with this, you want to make sure, they have a radial set that comes with it, and it's good. It's not great though. And I know DX Engineering, I'm not sure about Gigaparts or HRO, but I know DX Engineering sells a radial kit specifically for the Chameleon MPAS 2.0 that I would highly recommend that you get. It's about $30. It's worth every penny of it. It works like a champ. And you can see that red knob that's right under here, right where my cursor is highlighted. That's where the radials go, and it's so easy, and it works really well. And the ground spike that they have with the Chameleon MPAS 2.0 works really well. You really don't even need like a soft mallet to get it into the ground. It goes in really well, and the whip goes together real easily when you're pointing that up. It's collapsible, and I did end up getting a new storage case from the original one that I got, because the original one didn't really quite fit everything. So Chameleon came out with a different option as far as a carry bag is concerned, and it's much nicer and it works a whole lot better. This is something I really, if you can afford the $450, $500 for this, this is something I really recommend, because you have different options with this. Have it as a vertical, a sloper, or a wire antenna. Have it as a vertical antenna. You have so many different options here, and this is why I'll never forget that that Elmer told me after I passed my first exam. He said, if you spend good money, spend it on antennas. And that's one of the things that I did early on, was to get this. And I have not been disappointed with that. It has worked every single time I've used it. I am just so pleased. And they include some coax with it, with a choke on there. It's really all inclusive. You get what you pay for. It is a little more on the pricey side, but it really does a good job. POTA thought one modular system can handle almost any park environment, and that is so true. This is so vertical, so versatile. For me, it would probably be the only thing I might take. But no, I do take some end-fed half waves as well too, and some other ones as well. So this is something I do highly, highly, highly recommend here. Okay, ham stick antenna, 1 band per antenna. Mount vertically as a pair or 2 as a dipole. Quick to deploy from a vehicle or tripod, affordable and capable of handling 100 watts, narrow bandwidth, especially on lower bands. POTA thought a dependable option when durability and fast setup come first. And it is. This is a very fast setup. It's very easy to get set up. The one thing I do caution people, it does have a narrow bandwidth on this. So, you're not going to get, like you would on the Chameleon MPAS 2.0. But it's going to work, and it's going to work for that specific set of bands. And I haven't used a ham stick before, and I'm not exactly familiar with what bands it actually uses. But those of you who are, you probably know what to use with something like that. But again, it's very narrow in terms of that kind of a capability. But it is a good quick setup if you're looking for something like that for a POTA deployment. Okay. Off-center fed dipole, typically 40-10 or 20 to 6 meters. Several bands without opening or closing links. Efficient wire construction performs well at height. Use 2 supports or 1 center mast as an inverted V. Feed line placement requires additional planning. And you got to think. You got to think when you're setting these antennas up, where also where you're going to be sitting down and where your radio is going to be and doing this. So there's some logistics in figuring this out, but it works well. And it's a strong choice for operators who want multi-band wire performance, and it really does. It really does well on multi-bands, and that's one of the strengths of the off-center fed dipole, and that's something I would encourage you guys to go ahead and take a look at and have that as an option. Super Antenna MP1, and this kind of came back as kind of a surprise to me, as far as the recommendations from ChatGPT one, and I looked at it, and you know what? The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. And it's obviously it covers 40 to 10 meters, collapses to approximately 12 inch. I mean, it's so compact. That's the wonderful thing about this. Works for trees and long wires are impractical. Adjustable loading coil selects the operating band. Narrow tuning rewards the use of an analyzer, and that's something. Yeah, you do need to have that wonderful antenna, have that SWR meter with you to help you out as far as that's concerned. Extremely portable, but efficiency is the price paid for small size, and it really is. It works well. I know people that have used it. I don't have one, but I know people that have used it and they've been pleased with it. But you really kind of got to follow the directions, and you got to be very precise as far as your whip and the length of the whip is concerned, and where the coil is placed. When you're adjusting that as well too, to get the correct band that you're looking for. But other than that, people have said that it works real well for them. They really like it, and they think it's a good option to have. To take with you in your car. And again, this is something where and it's a good point. The second point, where trees and long wires are impractical. A lot of times, you may be in a kind of a narrow area. You may not have a lot of room, and this is where something like this will come in, and it works well. And I know a lot of people that have used them, and it's something I would recommend because I know the people that have used them, and they've been very, very pleased with them. 9, a portable magnetic loop. And it covers commonly 40 to 10 meters. Fits beside a table or inside a covered shelter. No long wire, tree support, or radial field required. May reduce some locally, or you should probably say produce. May produce some locally generated noise. Narrow bandwidth requires frequent retuning. POTA thought useful when activation site leaves almost no room for an antenna. And a lot of times, you could be in a situation where you just have a picnic table, and it's in a narrow area, and you're confined. And this is something where a portable mag loop would come into hand. These are expensive. I will say that. Normally, I see them probably about $400 or $500 out on HRO and Gigaparts and DX Engineering. They work. But the other thing with this too is it does, because it has such a narrow bandwidth, you do have to tune this a lot, and there's a lot comes into play with that. But they do work, and it could be, this is an instance where I know a lot of guys that have used these, on a rainy day, because you don't want to go out there and mess around. I'm not talking thunderstorm, but just like a rainy day, and you're inside a shelter, and it works, and it works really well. So you're not outside getting all wet and everything, but it's something you consider as an option for something like that when the weather's kind of inclement. But again, keep in mind, several of these things. Number one, it's a higher cost. Number two, it's going to require a lot of retuning. It's something that you probably want to check maybe about every half hour to 45 minutes or so, because it does lose that. It doesn't. It's not as efficient as some of the other antennas, but it does work. And it's great when you are limited on space, and also when you have inclement weather, or say you want to you can do POTA inside. There's a clubhouse or something inside there, or something or other, and the other ones are all taken or something like that. So again, this is an option to pursue. It gives you some options that you don't normally have with that. Absolutely, Andy. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to number 10 here. Random wire and tuner. Okay, potentially 80 to 10 meters. Choose a wire length that avoids troublesome resonances. Pair with a 9-to-1 Unen counterpoise and wide range tuner. Adapt the wire to trees, fences, or available supports. Efficiency and common mode behavior vary by installation. And you can tell, I think this is a commercially available one here. I know something like this, spool tenna is probably one of the more popular ones. I know that a lot of guys use that. And this is very similar to the setup that you see right here. It really, these take a lot of experimentation to know, and especially you really got to have your SWR meter. You got to know how big your whip is, how long your lines are as well too. There's a lot of factors into this, and you really have to work and pay attention to this. And this is something I would say I would leave for somebody who I would call a kind of a seasoned ham radio operator, one who's had several POTA deployments before and kind of knows what they're doing, and especially someone who's really kind of knows what they're doing with the antennas. It's not easy to set up, but when it works really well. And that's something to keep into consideration and keep in mind when you're thinking about this. This is an option out there. A lot of guys like it. A lot of guys do it. They do a lot of their homebrew kind of thing, and they figure these out. And I know Walt probably has some in his book that would absolutely be fit right in line with this right here. And that's something I think a lot of us would really do well to study by. And that's one of the things that's on my bucket list is to get Walt's book, because that's one of the things I really love about Walt's channel. This is a quick little sidebar here, is the things that he does with antennas, and he's figured out a lot of stuff with antennas, and it's really simple. And you can make this simple or you can make this difficult, and a lot of times that's why I say at first, if you're a seasoned person, it's not as hard as if you're a new or inexperienced person, don't have as much experience doing setups like a random wire and tuner. But when you get some deployments under your belt and you get more familiar with antennas, this is something that I would encourage you to take a look at. And obviously YouTube is out there to help you guys put together a nice random wired antenna and tuner. So POTA thought flexible and inexpensive, but less predictable than a resonant antenna, and that's very true. Okay, the best choice depends on the activation. Start with a resonant antenna whenever the site gives you enough room. Best overall, 40 to 10 meters. It's an end-fed half wave, lightweight, multi-band, and easy to deploy. The best signal is a linked dipole. Full-size resonant wire with minimal loss, and it's true. It really is a very nice, strong, good, clear signal. The fastest setup is a 17-foot vertical, and I would agree with that. Tree-free operation from a compact footprint, and most versatile is the MPAS 2.0. Multiple configurations for difficult locations. For a first POTA antenna, choose an end-fed half wave and a lightweight telescoping mast, and that's something I would absolutely recommend as well too, as far as that's concerned. I think that would be great when you're selecting that for a first-time deployment, and I think that would go really well. Guys, I want to thank you so much for stopping by today, for spending time out of your afternoon to watch Ham Radio Basics Live. Well, I really appreciate that. Hope you find these top 10 presentations informative and useful. I have a lot of fun putting these together. They're really easy to do for me, and I really enjoy that. And it's really, again, this is something that really speaks to the whole nature of why I do my channel and why I've called it Ham Radio Basics, because I want to make things simple and easy and not complicated for you, because ham radio can get complicated in a hurry. I want to make it so it's easy and it's fun and enjoyable, because, bottom line is this: you want to be able to sit there and key up your mic and say CQ, 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 and make contacts, because that's what we're here for. So that's it, guys. Hope you have a great rest of your week. As always, guys, it's a great day to make a QSO. 7 3s, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.